Good afternoon, Detroit. Where my east siders at? Make some noise. East side or best side, I am literally biased. Born and raised on the east side. For those who don't know in the crowd, my name is Donovan McKinney. I'm the state representative out of the House 14th District.
He's a great state representative.
Thank you, Governor. And so, literally, I sit on the House Appropriations Committee. I'm the only Detroiter in the House that sits on the full appropriations and what we were able to do when it came to the state budget. And let me tell you guys what that means in terms of having the gavel. This is the first time, some of you guys may know this, but this is the first time in 4 decades, 40 years, Democrats hold a trifecta right here in our state of Michigan. And it's because of you all. It's because of you all. Your steadfast, your dedication, your commitment to ensure that Michigan will have better days, will have sunnier days. Because it was gloomy when Republicans were controlling. Am I right? But now we're actually able to spread resources and bring them back down to the city, bring them back down to our neighborhoods, bring them back down to home. So how many people know that our amazing governor, Big Gretchen Whitmer, signed a budget 2 weeks ago that becomes effective in October, and one of the pieces of that line item and budget line items that's being funded is that less than 2 miles away, how many people know about the city airport, Coleman Young Municipal Airport? How many people remember Davis Aerospace? This school in particular was named after the first black 4-star general in the United States Air Force, Benjamin Davis, Tuskegee Airman. This school has not been on the grounds of the city airport for over 12 years. But guess what? We got $8 million in the budget that our governor just signed to bring Davis Aerospace back to the city airport. And let me tell you how important this is, because this is the only high school in America that teaches our youth, high school students, how to build and break down a plane, how to fly them, how to do the mechanics, how to understand the aerospace behind it, the science behind it, and guess what? It's a direct feeder into the Western Michigan University's aviation program or the Air Force. And let me tell you this, as chair of the Aerospace and Defense Caucus for the state, I was able to go to London 2 weeks ago with our Lieutenant Governor and the Make It in Michigan initiative that our governor started. Yes, y'all make some noise for that. And we're literally talking to companies, international companies, to figure out how to bring them back home to Michigan, to bring them back home to Detroit, to take advantage of all of our manufacturing talent across our state. But we need our young people, we need our younger generation to stay here, to believe that Michigan is a home for them, right? And that's what we're doing, and that's what I'm counting on you guys for, because this election is more important now than the history of any election ever. Am I right? We have to continue building on our momentum, and we can't do it without your support. So with that being said, I want to introduce one of the women of the hour. She is literally the best governor I've ever served under, I've ever witnessed to lead our state. But guess what? Her agenda is not over. Her job is not done. We got another 2 years of her leading the ship here in our state. But we can't do it. She can't do it alone, right? She needs a Democratic legislature. So we need to make sure that the state house is returned back to the gavels of Democrats. So we got to talk to our friends, our families, our neighbors to get them out to vote, because that's the only way we're going to be able to continue on building. And so with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to our marvelous governor, our amazing governor. The governor is fixing the damn roads, right? You know, Big Gretch, baby. Big Gretch. Big Gretch, y'all make some noise for our amazing governor, Gretchen Whitmer!
All right, Representative McKinney, a heck of a hype man. Thank you, my friend. All right, I am so grateful to have a partner like Donovan in the Michigan House. I'm grateful that we got the first black speaker in the history of Michigan, and Joan Tate leading the House. And And because of that, we've been able to get a lot done. I am here with all of you, number one, because I love you and I care about you, and I know I would not be governor without the people of the city of Detroit having my back. So thank you. I know, it's right. It's right. I also know, as we think about this high-stakes election coming up in less than 90 days, that we've got work to do in this state. The whole world is going to be saying, what is happening in Michigan? Michigan is going to decide the outcome of this election. Michigan is going to decide whether or not Democrats control the United States Senate. Michigan is going to decide whether or not Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are in the White House, right? Now, I want to talk to you about my friend Elissa Slotkin. This woman right here. Give her a hand. She is a hard-working public servant who's dedicated her life to making other people's lives better. She has been our voice in Congress from the 8th District. That's where Lansing is. So she's been representing me, and she's been doing it damn well. But we got to make sure that in this open U.S. Senate seat that we get her elected. Now, you're all going to start to get to know Elissa. I've known her for a while, and I can tell you, as someone who also took care of her mother at the end of her life, as someone who is an expert in national security, as someone who has delivered for the state of Michigan over and over again, we can't afford not to get her into the United States Senate. Am I right? And her opponent has morphed into, he's just like J.D. Vance. You know, he was halfway reasonable at one point, but now he's become a part of that Trump MAGA crew. And they don't know about us. They don't know what it's like to balance a budget or to take care of your family at the end of their life. They don't know what it's like to go in the grocery store and put things back on the shelf because you can't afford the groceries. We need someone who gets us, who understands, who's going to deliver for Michigan, and that is Elissa Slotkin. So we got to turn it out for her, as well as another woman who has lived a very normal life too. She and her running mate, Tim Walz, who's a good friend of mine from the state of Minnesota, are now our candidates for president and vice president, right? And Kamala Harris is for everyone. I'm looking at that shirt over there. It says Kamala for everybody. That is who Kamala Harris is. A lifelong public servant. Someone who has worked at McDonald's and took care of a parent and took care of her sister's kids. She's someone who's made sacrifices her whole life and understands our lives. She's been the top person in the federal government fighting for our reproductive rights and our ability to make our own damn decisions about our own damn bodies. And so we've got work to do. The whole world. This is not an exaggeration. This election's going to come down to 3 or 4 states. Michigan is one of them. We know Michigan is somewhat divided at times. We know that we're all feeling good about our prospects, but a feeling ain't going to get it done. It's the work that's going to get it done. So we got to roll up our sleeves, sign up for shifts, talk to our loved ones, our coworkers, our fellow parishioners, and turn out the vote in this election. We've got to elect Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, and we've got to elect my good friend and our next speaker, Elissa Slotkin, to the United States Senate. Hi, everybody. The next speaker. Oh, next speaker. All right, I thought I was becoming speaker. Hi, everybody. I'm Congresswoman Elissa Slotkin, running to be your next senator. Can I just take a moment to appreciate our governor? I just want to say there's been 1 million pounds of ink spilled on her rise and what she has done. But I want to say very honestly, everything that's going on at the top of the ticket right now with Kamala Harris, this whole fundamental question about whether a woman and a woman of color can rise to the top and become the first woman president. Yes, we can. And the example is the state of Michigan, right? The example is the state where after 2016, when Clinton lost, people used to tell us, and Gretchen and I were running at the same time at that time, they were like, you know, we're just not sure if Michiganders see women as leaders. And then we went and elected Gretchen Whitmer and Dana Nessel and Jocelyn Benson and women up and down the ticket. And so now when everyone wants to know, the whole world wants to know, can Kamala Harris win? They come to Michigan to understand
that we can do it, and that is because of Gretchen, right? And that name brand Gretchen Whitmer thing, which is like the happy warrior, man. The happy warrior. She is in the fight, and she is enjoying herself as she just slays her opponents and cuts down all these other things. She's enjoying it. And speaking of character, I just have to say, because some of you are represented by Donovan McKinney, separate from any public event, any talking point, the first time I met Donovan, we met at Buddy's Pizza, the original Buddy's. It was the day after the ice storm. Remember the ice storm where electricity went out for so many days? He had a newborn at home. He was sweaty and a mess, apologizing because he had just been helping his neighbors cut down trees, move limbs, and get their power back on. That is what character is, and that is the person you want as your representative. So I want to appreciate Donovan. Okay, so you heard from our governor that the state of Michigan is literally going to decide who goes to the White House. It's also going to decide control of the U.S. Senate. It literally right now looks like it could be a 50-50 Senate. So if we lose the seat, if we win the seat, control of the Senate, and whether Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are going to be able to live out the commitments that they are making right now is going to come down to control of that Senate. So I wake up every morning, I know exactly what my mission is, right? I know exactly what it is. And whether, I know we just went through a primary, whether you voted for me or not, I want the opportunity to earn your vote in that second round in November, because what is on the ballot is who controls the destiny of our country. So I am running to be your senator for 4 very specific things. I'll be very brief, but I want you to know, because I don't believe pointing at the other side, the other guys, and saying they're bad is a strategy. I don't think that works in the state of Michigan, right? Where we got a lot of swing voters, a lot of independent voters, a lot of undecided voters. Number 1, my sun and my moon. I'm a national security person by training, right? My sun and my moon is that America has to be a place where anyone from anywhere can get into the middle class and beyond. That is absolutely imperative. We are a multiracial, multi-ethnic democracy. If we can't be a place where anyone can work hard and get into the middle class, we're in trouble, right? And it's become harder to get in and stay in. For our young people dealing with debt, for our working parents trying to buy a home, for our seniors whose Medicare and Social Security checks aren't going as far, right? And on the other side of the ledger, Mike Rogers, who I'm running against, he sees the world a completely opposite, different way, right? He doesn't believe in student debt relief. He doesn't believe in helping people buy their first home, and he believes in cutting or privatizing Medicare and Social Security. It's the opposite vision. I know. I want him to I want to see him take on the seniors of Michigan with that one. Number 2, as you heard Donovan talking about, I want to make more things in America, right? Now, critical things that we know we've outsourced too far to China. You know, those 14-cent microchips, you all have chips in your pocket right now, in those phones. We need 300 chips to make a car, we make 0% of the chips that go in cars. That's not safe, that's not right. Number 3, I want to protect our kids from the things that are truly harming them. What is truly harming them, number 1 killer of children in America under 21 is gun violence. That's not a political statement. In our communities, in our schools, by suicide and by accident. I became the first congresswoman to represent 2 school shootings, Oxford High School and Michigan State. We lose the equivalent of a school shooting in Lansing, Michigan every 8 to 10 weeks. If you can't take on the number 1 killer of children, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? So I focus on those threats and the diseases of despair, mental health issues, opioid addiction, and then the climate change, the one that's going to affect our kids more than us, right? And the environment. What I don't focus on are the not real threats to our kids, like books, right? Books in our library are not a threat to our kids. Teaching Black history in our schools is not a threat to our children. Guns are a threat to our children. And last thing, this is a style thing more than a substance thing. If I'm elected, I don't understand how, I'll be the youngest Democratic woman in the Senate. I'm 48, so I'm not young. Barack Obama was already president at my age, so it's not young. It's young for the Senate. But it's not just about age. It's about approach. I came of age as an elected official. I never thought about getting into elected politics until President Trump was elected, right? And it made me just shocked me out of my sort of apathy. To me, we need a different generation that understands that we need to just play some more offense on protecting our rights and our democracy, and not just defense. We don't live in that world anymore where we can just wait and everything's going to be okay, right? Used to be the Senate could deliberate things, could be okay, and if they didn't get to everything, it was all right, because the Supreme Court was there to be kind of the block on all the crazy. Who can say that? We can't say that now. So I want to be a part of that different generation. I keep telling people, Gen X and the millennials are coming to the Senate. And be a part of that generation that plays more offense, so that instead of talking about their Project 2025, we have our Project 2025, right? Instead of waiting for their terrible state laws, we show them our good state laws. We have a plan and a strategy. That comes from my prior life. I want to bring that into my future life. So thank you for your support. Thank you for caring about your country and your community. Thank you to the governor for her support, for all she's done for Michigan, and let's go kick some ass.
All right, Detroit, East Side's gonna turn it out, right? This election's gonna come down to a handful of votes, and so we can't make any mistakes making any assumptions. We gotta do the work. But when we do the work, we win. When we show up, we win. And when we win, we set an agenda that makes everybody's lives better, not just some, right? So let's go.